Sometimes I feel sad when I play video games, but I find a way to console myself. What's going on, YouTube? We have 3 weekly vendors now that reset every Tuesday at 10 a.m. So if you're watching this, you have until next Tuesday at 10 a.m. To get these items that we have here. We're going to go through this relatively quickly. This is from the Tuesday the 19th vendor. And let's start off with Filer Ul, who is inside of the Infinite Archive, which is inside of Apocrypha, free-to-play zone. And our first mythic lead here is the Green Calcite Gears, which is an odd item. It comes from a music box. Unfortunately, I can't mime the tune here for you, but it normally comes from a Delve boss, so you're probably not going to spend 5,000 Archival Fortunes to avoid killing a Delve boss. But you may be tempted by the sticky leather, because this will give you access to the Thrashin Stranglers, and normally this is a Psijic portal lead, which is very annoying, because if you were not looking for Psijic portals, you'll probably find tons of them. But if you weren't looking for Psijic portals, probably won't find any of them. Give a TLDR on Thrashin Stranglers. Every time you kill something, you get higher weapon and spell damage, but it reduces your health and effectiveness of your damage shields. You can't go invisible or crouch to get rid of it. I used to think this was like the best XP farming mythic, because you're just killing stuff faster, and then, you know, you're probably not getting killed, you know, depending on what you're farming. But there are now mythics that give you XP for using them. So unfortunately, Thrashin Strangler is a bit hard to compete against that. Does still have some niche utilization for PvE content, but overall it's not highly popular as it used to be. So let us move on to the next item. And it is Tremor Scale Shoulders, which normally retail for about, I'd say, 1 million gold. There's only 2 listings though. This is a decently rare item. And you can see how it looks like on my shoulder up here, modeling it for you guys. Overall, it's a pretty cool looking shoulder, but probably worth more to get in gold than it is to get with your Archival Fortunes, because again, if you buy with Archival Fortunes, it's bound. Next up is Bankrai Treasure Maps. Now, Bankrai Treasure Maps actually have 2 good sets to go with it. 7th Legion, Spriggans. Those are some pretty decent sets. Couple problems, though, with these treasure maps. One is that those sets have been out for forever, and they're over-farmed during events because the world bosses there are a pretty popular farming spot. And 2, the other problem is that there's really nothing else that you get from those treasure maps besides those 2 sets. There's no cool mythics, no higher chance to get things like companion gear. So unfortunately, not really worth these treasure maps. Medium armor, if you're trying to roll for DPS gear. I mean, I don't know how many people are making DPS companions comparatively. I think it's the 3rd most popular way to build them. The least most popular, because you have tank, healer, DPS. If you really wanted to roll, medium armor is the time to do it, but you're probably not going to do that. And here are some cool books that you can get. I know a lot of you guys love these books, and if I skip them, you threaten to unsubscribe. Look how small this one is. I don't know the feedback I can give you on these books. Next, we have our scripts. Now, with being able to get scripts now with Tel Var, and based on how often people are farming different types of quests, it's so hard to recommend scripts for Archival Fortunes. Veneration, Dispel Trauma, Growing Impact. I mean, yes, some of these are okay. None of these jump out at me as you need to go buy these with Archival Fortunes, because by the time you farm this many Archival Fortunes, you could have also farmed the daily quests that have a chance to drop it. So for me, this week, because there's nothing that screams you need to get this immediately, I think you could definitely skip this one. Next, we have Twin Slashes in Lilac Purple. A lot of you guys actually said that you really do like these skill styles, and you would rather pay this than you would rather pay with the Undaunted key. So here you go, 15,000 Archival Fortunes. It is a permanent thing. It's a permanent skill style. So for me, at least, that's okay, because the only alternative is spending Undaunted keys. And to be completely honest, Undaunted keys are a pretty valuable resource. So are Archival Fortunes, but usually Archival Fortunes are giving you access to mythic leads. And if you've already got all the mythics that you want, you can definitely use those resources for other things, especially if you don't want to convert them to gold using like provisioning sacks. And then we finish off with our 2 goofy items, which is our Malagrific Skeever Pet, which drops from the Infinite Archive normally. And then we have our Dwarven Theodite Pet, which is a fragment that you can buy from other players. You can also get it from a public dungeon. So definitely skippable items, not worth 7,000 archival fortunes. Out of curiosity, how much would you guys pay for this? I think if these were like, if the Skeever pet was like 500 archival fortunes, maybe, and then the Dwarven Theodite Eye was like 100 archival fortunes, maybe. And our second Tuesday vendor is inside of the Scholarium inside of Ivea. Now, the reason I actually really like this guy is that you can get scripts from here with gold. Now, gold is significantly easier to get than archival fortunes and Tel Var. So he starts with intellect and endurance. Intellect and endurance I actually use on my PvP build. I think having that is like something you can give yourself as an extra passive. It's just pretty valuable. So if you don't have it, you can just throw it on there. Same with pull. Pull's a perfectly good thing to be able to attach to things. I think that's a fantastic one to get. But the key one that I would say is get Anchorite's Potency if you don't have it, because it's a bound signature script. It has a lower chance rate to drop than like the pull and endurance one does. So I would definitely, if you don't have this one, head out and buy this one for, I think it'll be like 20,000 gold for you if you don't have it learned already. And then class mastery, unfortunately, have to have all of the class mastery pieces, so it's just here every week. But these are some good ones. I would actually encourage you guys to get all of these, even if you don't plan to use them, unless you're actively farming daily quests every day and you find yourself getting tons of scripts. But even then, if you haven't gotten this one yet, because, bound signature scripts are a little rare, I would definitely invest in this one. Next up, we have our Tel Var vendor, who is going to be inside of the Imperial City. Who could have guessed that? Do not worry. You're in the safe zone. And you want to head out to the Tel Var Merchant, because we have some awesome leads that you're going to be able to get. We start off with the Agility set. Now, I actually really like the Agility set if you're trying to build some sort of Mark and Ring build, especially for a stamina character. Agility is a really cool set, and I like how you can actually get it in all the different types: arcane, healthy, and robust. I think that's a really nice touch, but probably not worth 100,000 Tel Var. Plague Break Amulet is also one that's so difficult, because Plague Break, golded out, is a valuable item, but 100,000 Tel Var is also valuable because there's just so many easy ways that you can convert it to gold. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be worth it for that price point. I hope that ZeniMax actually knocks this down a little bit. I think maybe 50,000 Tel Var would be a bit more reasonable, because a golded out Plague Break Amulet is probably worth about 100 to 120,000 gold on a good day. If a lot of people are farming, say during Mid-Year Mayhem, and getting a lot of Plague Break Amulets, and there's a lot of purple jewelry going on the market, probably will fall in value to like 60 to 80,000, just depending on the meta, how many people are getting into PvP and whatnot. And that would make it actually less than 1 gold to Tel Var, and you can always make over. So if you have 1 Tel Var, you can usually make at least 1.5 gold to 2 gold pieces for that single Tel Var. So if you're trying to convert it to gold, fortunately, it's not a good way to do it. But if you're looking for a Plague Break Amulet and for some reason you have no money, you're broke, you could purchase this. And spoiler alert, these will also be the rings lower. Let's take a look at the leads. This first one is the Chain of the Werewolf, which is part of the Shapeshifter's Chain. Now, this normally drops from Delves, so we're not going to be too focused on that. But I do just want to highlight the Shapeshifter's Chain. Reduce the cost of your transformation and your werewolf abilities by 15%, and it gives you a total amount increase of health, mag, and stam, 1707. A lot of people sleep on this mythic, and I've been told by professional werewolf players that this one is actually pretty baller. So the leads are not too terrible to get compared to some of the other ones, and if you're really going out and balling out as a werewolf, definitely a decent one to farm. Personally, not a werewolf. I don't want to, get teabagged every time I die inside a Battleground or Cyrodiil, more than I already do, because people will be like, oh, I know that person. So I can't play as a werewolf. I'd be clowned on a bit too much inside of PvP. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it's still a good mythic, but definitely not a lead that you need to purchase. Next up is the Coral Clasps. Now, this one is coming from Grotwood inside of Public Dungeon Bosses. Now, this is for the pearls of words that if I pronounce incorrectly, people will comment it below. So we're just not even going to say it. It's the pearls mythic. Now, the pearls mythic, notoriously, I have been not very keen on. When you attempt to use a resource to cast a healing ability while in combat and your dominant resource is under 50%, you gain 3 ultimate. I just feel like there's just so many better mythics that you can use. I think I actually put this mythic in the D tier when we did our old tier list. So I was just not very keen on it. But overall, I mean, it's a fine mythic. It's not, it's not terrible, but it's probably like a 5.5. Somebody will comment and tell me that this thing is amazing. I just think that there's so many better options that you can use for a mythic, and there's so many other ways that you can generate ultimate that you don't really need to worry about that. But either way, everybody will agree that it's not worth to get that specific lead. And then we have Malbator. Malbator is not necessarily known for having great drops from its treasure maps. There are some fun sets from there, like Thunderbug, where you can block and then shoot electricity around you. Does that get you excited? Would you buy that from treasure maps? Almost certainly not, but it's still cool, so there's that. Then we have our Plague Break agility rings. I mean, and to be fair, Plague Break, I would actually give it like a 9.5 if I was rating it. In agility, I would probably give it like an 8.1 on the tier list here for just out of 10, just because they are really good sets. The problem is 100,000 Tel Var. I mean, you could buy like a bunch of Hajaku runes for that. It's just not worth it, unfortunately. Then we have Mangle, Poison, Restore Resource, and Knight's Valor. Now, Knight's Valor is pretty good, but is it this much in Tel Var good? Probably not, because this is the cost if you already have it unlocked, meaning I think it's like 50,000, 60,000 Tel Var if you don't have it unlocked. And these other ones, Mangle, Poison Damage, and Restore Resource, unfortunately are probably not even close to being worth it. But, you know, it's fun to highlight them, even if they're not usually worth it in the price points. And we finish off with a trophy fragment, which is going to be able to unlock a really cool looking skill style. It'll make you have a little gold shield if you're using annulment. This fragment specifically is looted from a Delve public dungeon boss, I believe. So it's a public dungeon, excuse me, and it drops from the Green Shade public dungeon. You can see that there's a whole bunch of hoopla that goes on in here. And overall, this is, I believe, 100% drop rate to these. Yeah, so it's Green Shade. Then it's public dungeon. So I really wouldn't worry about purchasing this for 5,000 Tel Var, even though 5,000 Tel Var is a relatively fair amount of gold. If you had to spend 5,000 Tel Var, it's probably on console like the equivalent of like 10 to 15,000 gold. And if I didn't have to like go out and farm like some really annoying dungeon, I would say, yeah, 5,000 Tel Var is a fair value for that. But for me, it's not worth not farming a public dungeon boss. So even though I thought originally it was a Delve boss, even if, as a public dungeon boss, I'll keep the 5,000 Tel Var. Thank you. But everyone, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hopefully this wasn't too shortened and concise. I'm trying to find a perfect length for these videos. So if you do mind commenting below, tell me. We have 3 vendors. Do you feel like we're giving enough detail for each individual vendor here and going over the stuff with enough detail, but also being, not too wordy? I don't want it to be like one of those English assignments that you turn in and you're like 100 words short, so you just start typing out a random bunch of nonsense. I don't want you guys to feel like you're loading up a cooking recipe, and the cooking recipe doesn't begin until the 3rd page of the web article that you're reading. So let me know in the comments below. As always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. All you need to do to answer is leave a comment in the comments below. Second thing is just make sure you subscribe/follow on Twitch and Twitter. And third thing is look for hidden word be flashed upon the screen. If you're the first person to comment that word, you will win. Have a happy Tuesday. I'll catch you guys tomorrow during the PvP event, and I'll see you there. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.